Evening, Mayor.
We're
How
live.
you doing, Council President?
Very good, thank you.
We're live. You can
Okay.
probably go ahead.
You want to start? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good evening, everybody. Welcome to tonight's Vermilion City Council meeting for Monday, May 4th, 2020. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of reflection or silent prayer. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Glenn, please call the roll.
Olivex.
Present.
Brady. Present. Luca.
Here.
Gahan. Here. Paul.
Here.
Dark. Here. Aaron.
Here. Okay, do we have a motion to approve the minutes of the April 20th, 2020 council meeting?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? Glenn?
Holmes. Ryan. You're mute. Unmute.
I got it. Yes.
Dark.
Yes.
Gahan.
Yes.
Luca.
Yes.
Brady.
Yes.
Olivex.
Yes.
Aaron.
Yes. Do we have any correspondence?
Have none this evening.
Okay, so we'll go to President of Council's report. That will be very short. I just want to thank everybody in our community for continuing to support local businesses, for continuing to be as polite as possible under these stressful circumstances, keeping social distancing and following the recommendations that have been set forth by our governor and the CDC helps all of us be respectful and feel more comfortable when we need to go out and do our grocery shopping and so forth. Things are starting to loosen up a little bit, and that's just going to continue our duty to our country, to our community, and to each other to just try to follow the rules, be respectful, and get through this together. So I want to thank everybody for that. As far as when Vermilion City Council will go back to our meeting place, I will just tell you that I'm going to follow the recommendations of the Center for Disease Control and Governor DeWine's administration, and to the point where if they feel it's comfortable for cities and townships to get back together in a social setting to do that, then I will do that. There's no indication of what it's going to be. Certainly, we're going to be for the rest of this month doing our video meetings, but we will be keeping an open ear. And I will assure you of a couple things. I will continue to monitor those entities and what the recommendations are, and I will not put anybody in a situation where they feel not uncomfortable to come to council. I don't want anybody to who's immune compromised or lives with somebody who's immune compromised to feel in any way that you know, they need to come and put any risks in their lives by coming to a meeting. But we do need to eventually get back. So I just want everybody to know that that's what I'm looking for as far as guidance. So with that, I don't have anything further under President Council's report. So we'll move to our committee reports. Beginning with Councilwoman Stark.
Thank you, President Herron. For legislative, I have no report. We didn't have anything on our agenda last meeting. And for Vermilion Community Services, I just wanted to let everybody know that during this pandemic situation, Sandusky County Transit, who we run our Vermilion Community Services busing service through, they are not charging any fares for their rides. So any riders that would benefit from getting a ride through that bus, there is no fares being charged at this time. And I just wanted to make that known for everybody who might be in need. And that concludes my report.
Thank you very much, Councilwoman Stark. Does anybody have any questions or comments? If you do, raise your hand and then, okay. All right, thank you. We'll then go to Councilman Luca.
Thank you, Mr. President. The next utilities meeting will be May 11th via Zoom, and the next Port Authority meeting will be May 14th via Zoom, and that concludes my report.
Okay, thank you, Councilman Luca. We'll go then to Councilwoman Brady.
Thank you, Council President. Finance Committee met on May 11th, or will be meeting on May 11th, which is next week. And Planning Commission met on April 29th. I don't have the minutes, but just as a synopsis, there were several lot splits that were approved in one lot combination that was approved. They also had final plans for the Parsons expansion over by the new fire station. And there was a commercial to residential, a recommended conditional use of to a residential use on Liberty Avenue. And Planning Commission will meet again on June 3rd. When, do you know when people will have to make application for that meeting? Is it going to be like 2 weeks ahead or?
It's 2 weeks ahead. Yeah.
Okay,
I'll get back to you. I'll look it up right now.
okay. That concludes my report.
Thank you very much, Councilwoman Brady. Are there any questions or comments? All right, thank you. And then we'll go to Councilman Holmes.
Thank you, Council President. Health and Safety will meet May 11th. Parks and Rec met on April 21st. Several community group use permits were permitted. Obviously, we'll be looking at those as we continue through this pandemic. Other items that were talked about, we had the director's report. Service director reported on the wastewater treatment plant. They were able to secure a truck for the Parks Department to use. He also talked about mapping the catch basin and drain over at Shosey Park. Recreation director reported they're waiting and seeing with baseball and softball for the season. Again, we're just waiting for the governor's orders and seeing what other municipalities are doing as well. The park supervisor continued about projects that are happening, equipment being purchased, things being done to get the planting pots ready for the beds to be prepared for the Vermilion in bloom. He also talked about a couple projects, one including the renovation of the gazebo in Victory Park. Other big topics, one of the big ones obviously that were talked about was the Vermilion Community Pool. Again, there's a committee that met. We discussed several things. Again, the complete copy of the minutes are on vermilion.com. But as far as the pool goes, it was decided that we'd gather more data and watch again what the CDC and the governor recommends. And the mayor also, I'm sure he'll talk about this, but he attended a meeting and they spoke about what other communities are doing in regards to their rec programs and the rec pool as well. In the strategy operation plan meeting, the park supervisor created a 12-page strategic plan for the board, and Mark did a wonderful job on putting that together, and that will be out for everybody to see as well eventually. Next park meeting will be on May 19th, and that concludes my report.
Thank you very much, Councilman Holmes. Are there any questions or comments? Okay, thank you. I do not have a report on Stormwater Advisory Commission, as that a meeting has not been set for that, given our financial uncertainty. So we will then go to Councilwoman Skahan.
Thank you. I just have that the historic design and review next meeting will be June 3rd, time and location to be determined. And the Vermilion Tree Commission, not yet scheduled as far as I know.
They're going to set up a Zoom through me.
Okay.
May 13th. I want to say 9 o'clock, but I'll check on that and make sure you're invited.
Okay, thank you. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Councilwoman Skahan. Okay, we'll go to Councilman Holloway.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Streets, Buildings and Ground will meet on Monday, May 11th at 7 o'clock. And we'll probably do that with Zoom, I see. And the Contractors Registration Board did not meet in April. When do we have anything set for May at this point?
Not yet, until the board members, we're trying to figure out the best way to do it. We have a lot of applications. We have to get verification that I'm going to have to be the one holding them and going through them and seeing if we can get them to even get on Zoom with us. So I'll reach out to them this week.
let me know if you need any help with that,
Okay.
helping that out. And so we'll wait till I get back with Gwen when we'll meet or how we're going to handle it. The last thing I have is Zoning Board of Appeals, which met on Tuesday, April 28th. We did Zoom. It was a long meeting, and I'm going to make it real brief, but the first one we had was Woodland Drive. The applicant, Gary Howe, was looking for allowing agriculture as a use. After a long discussion, this was permanently tabled, and it will fall under the interpretation of the code under the building inspector, and that passed. The second topic I had was Main Street. The applicant was Josh Dewey. He had two zoning approvals, and the first one was to allow less than a 10-foot wide driveway, and the applicant, and that did pass. The second was to approve the variance to allow a front yard variance of 67 feet 10 inches, and that also passed. Number 3, we had Liberty Avenue, Mercedes Mitchell. She had previously had a zoning board approval, but it lapsed in time. So they went back and they approved it again based on the variance request to allow the permitted use, and that passed and carried. Number 4 was Aurora Drive. Mark and Marlene Shepherd looking for a rear setback for the garage. And after discussion, that variance did pass 5-0. Number 5 was Liberty Avenue, Jerry Crawford, and that was to allow a food truck in the downtown area. This was a very long discussion, and after the vote came out on it, the did not pass allowing a food truck in B2 zoning, and so that did not pass. Number 6, Roxborough Road, Alexander Rosso, that was tabled till next month. And the next one I had was 3130 Northridge Road, Lance Dusick, looking for no fence around his pool. He's out in the country and there wasn't much around him, so the committee approved the request for no fence, and that carried. The last was a corner of High Bridge and Park Side Reserve, and that was just a lot rear yard setback. After discussion, they approved the variance for the 10-foot variance as permitted, and the motion carried. The next meeting will be May 26th, and time will be determined. And that concludes my report.
Okay, thank you, Councilman Holloway. Sounds like you guys were very busy.
Yeah.
Is there any?
Just- I
Yes.
want to make a comment about the pool. It was above ground pool, 54 inches high. The fence requirement is 3 feet. And Steve Holloway has asked if Monica will put that on legislative to read it. That code was from, I think, 1969. That'll put it on legislative.
Yeah,
Yeah.
put it on for the next meeting in May. That's perfect.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Gwen. One of the things I want to say is, I think this is one of the times in zoning boards when we come across some old ordinances, that this will be the time to take it back to legislative to get them fixed. Because of this one, you got a fence that's 3 foot, a pool that's 54, doesn't make much sense, but it's been on the books for years. So as I continue to see these, I'll bring them back to council. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Any other questions or comments? Good. Okay. Thank you very much, Councilman Holloway. And we will now go to the Mayor's Safety Director's report. Mayor Forthover.
Thank you, Council President. Under city operations, I'm not muted, am I? No. Under city operations, we're working to safely bring our home working employees back to City Hall and eventually open City Hall. We're waiting for more guidance from the governor's office and the local health departments pertaining to opening the City Hall. There's a lot more to it than just throwing open the doors. There are safety precautions that have to be made. Certain things the employees need to negotiate with their own families in order to bring them back. I'm targeting June 1st as the date by which we'll have brought the home workers back. And we'll be contemplating opening City Hall soon thereafter. As Councilman Holmes alluded to, I belong to a Rankin County Mayor's group. We meet once a week, and it actually is very productive. I get a lot of feedback from other mayors pertaining to when they're going to be opening their facilities, so we can sort of coordinate. I mean, our general theory is if Macy's can be open, the People's City Hall should be open. So we're working toward that. We just have to find the way to do it cautiously and safely. As Councilman Holmes also alluded, we are talking also, and we'll be talking Wednesday among the mayors about opening our recreational facilities, including pools. Right now, the opinions range from no pools this year to let's wait till July to decide. Dave Cobal, the health director for Lorain County, was present at our meeting. And the type of restrictions that he suggested on municipal pools really make you think twice about whether you want to do it or not. I mean, there are some pretty onerous restrictions, understandable, but it's not like the pool in the old days. So we're really going to have to think long and hard before we advise the pool committee on what to do there. Secondly, I've been asked frequently about whether there's going to be COVID-19 testing in Vermilion. You see on the news these long lines of cars with people sticking their heads out the window and getting tested. That's not going to happen in Vermilion. Erie County Health Department has no plans to do that. If residents want to be tested, they can call the Firelands Regional Medical Center, but they must have a doctor's order. You can't just call and say, I want to be tested. You have to call there and go there with a doctor's order, and then they can arrange for you to be tested. I believe something's also developing in Mercy. We aren't really governed by their health department, but I think Mercy might be having some testing going on too. So if you're interested, those are the parameters that you have to adhere to. I want to give some credit to our service organizations. Both the Chamber of Commerce and Main Street Vermilion are doing an outstanding job of keeping our local merchants informed of what financial aid is available, how they have to apply for it, helping them with the applications. They're helping keep their names in front of the public during this time of downturn. And they're just doing a really heck of a job with the business owners. They're actually almost an extension of the city. We just don't have enough people to be doing things like that. So they're really filling an important role. On the subject of economic development, I want to say that some things are continuing to roll on Liberty Avenue. I just had an extensive conversation with the owner of George's Roofing today. They'll probably be taking down those awful old apartments tomorrow or the next day. I'll be having I'll be out there with my camera. They'll be doing some demolition to take those down. I believe his name is Kevin Boggs, who's the owner, said, I've been doing rehab for 20 plus years. He said, there's nothing that could have been done with that building. So that is beyond recall. So they're going to be taking that down. And then he has a plan for quite a few projects to be going on that property, which he'll be running through us. And he just has a lot of ambition, and that's a real plus to Liberty Avenue. Likewise, the people of that own the deli on the corner of West River and Liberty have been moving forward with their first of all demolition and then upgrade. They were before the Historic Design Review Board as recently as this morning. Actually, they had a special meeting of Historic Design Review to approve the historic colors for the outside of the building, and they're moving along. And I've got to say, I am surprised by the number of big projects that are still inquiring of opportunities in Vermilion. I mean, you know how the ratio goes. You have maybe 15 companies that you actually are talking to. One might end up being an actual warm prospect, but they're still calling. I mean, they're still contacting me, or I'm still finding them. So good news is the large projects with longer views of business are continuing to look at Vermilion. That's a good thing. Now, finances. I have to talk about this seriously. One of the conversations with the mayor's group is that they're predicting revenue shortfall to their cities, ranging anywhere from, I'd say on the high end would be Sheffield Village with 35% shortfall, but that's largely because they have a big piece of Ford, as does Avon Lake. And they were down for quite a while, so that's going to be a real hit for them. Ranges anywhere to maybe 20% in Avon. And Finance Director Hendricks right now says it would be a wild guess, but somewhere between 30 and 40% is realistic. We won't know the real number until we get probably further into next year and start seeing what the receipts look like. But I do know three things that I would like to share with you all tonight. The past 2 years, largely thanks to our finance director, we've really gotten our financial house in order. We've become stable, And we've actually started to move forward on some city investments and developments that we've long wanted to do. The Flipper lot was one, our water metering, a bunch of different projects we've started to comfortably move forward on. This year, the second item, if we suck in our guts and pay attention to some real serious cost reductions, it looks like we may break even for this year. We may end the year solvent. That's a good thing, as long as we really, really watch our spending and keep being creative on ways to minimize our spending. The third item is that next year, there's going to be a cold water bath as the wave breaks over us of the revenue shortfall that we're inevitably going to have. And next year is going to be very uncomfortable. And there's no other way I can put it. By all of our perspectives, that's the way it's going to look. I detest operating the city in retreat mode. That's not something I intuitively like to do. I've really enjoyed the past 2 years, but we've got some rough road to go now. This self-imposed national slowdown really dictates that we have no other choice to spend the next 7 months preparing ourselves for austerity. So on that upbeat note, I'd like to talk about the possibility of federal help. The latest round of federal relief, called the CARE Act, among other things, gives Governor DeWine some millions of dollars to spend on shoring up the state and the municipalities. The governor, I believe, keeps 55% of it for addressing the costs that are encumbered in the state, and the rest of the money is available for municipalities. However, those municipalities that qualify are only those with populations of 500,000 or more. Congresswoman Capter has made a petition to Governor DeWine that he reallocate those municipal finances to cities based on their population density, rather than just cutting it off at 500,000. But I was in a meeting with Congresswoman Capter. It sounded good, but in talking to our local MPOs, our local commissioners, it's not going to happen. Not with this CARE Act anyway. What we have to look forward to, though, is the next CARE Act, when the federal government puts that printing machine back on and makes more money and starts sending out more CARE Act. That's the one where we may be able to look for some municipal relief to the revenue shortfalls that we're inevitably going to have. So that won't come until later. But I have to tell you how it is, and that unfortunately is how it is. And that concludes my report.
All right, thank you, Mayor Forthover. Do we have any questions or comments? All right. Okay, well, we'll just take it one day at a time and get our information and make the decisions that we need to do.
Okay.
All right. So with that, then we'll go to our service director, Mr. Valerius.
Thank you, Mr. President. As of today, the service departments are operating at full staff levels again, and they have all been reminded of the recommendations and requirements of the governor's office concerning personal protective protocol during the pandemic. The street department has begun Durapatching. They started in the high traffic areas of the city and will complete those areas before moving into the neighborhoods. The distribution department will begin cleaning the beach well later this week, and will be assisting the contractor replacing the water line as part of the Haber Road Bridge construction. Phase 2 of the Vermilion Road resurfacing project began today. The project includes repaving Vermilion Road from Brownhelm Station Road to Jerusalem Road. All guardrails within the construction zone will be replaced as well. One-way northbound traffic only will be permitted throughout the duration of the project. All southbound traffic will be detoured. Precision Paving is the contractor, and if you recall, they did the repaving last year on Vermilion Road, so we don't foresee any issues in them meeting their completion date, which is July 31st. And that concludes my report.
Great, thank you, Mr. Valerius. Are there any questions or comments?
Brian?
Brian?
Yeah, for Tony, and as you know, I always ask about the grindings. We are keeping the grindings this time, or is that somehow?
We are
Possible.
setting aside a certain amount of grindings. I had the guys clear a spot over at the service center in preparation of the grindings, which should begin by the end of this week. So, yeah. we
Thank
got
you.
it. Okay.
Any other questions or comments? All right, then we'll go to our city engineer, Mr. Howard.
Thank you, Council President. Wanted to update council on some various items. This Thursday, we're having the pre-construction meeting for the Sanford Street water line. Once we have a construction schedule from underground utilities, we'll share it with council and the public. Next item is on the agenda tonight is resolution 2020R-6 and 2020R-7. I ask that council consider passing these resolutions tonight. These resolutions are for MPO funding applications. Resolution 2020R-6 is a funding application for Sunnyside Road Rehabilitation Phase 2. The project limits are from 800 feet north of the railroad tracks to 200 feet north of Shady Lake Drive. If this project is selected for funding, the city is requesting funds for state fiscal year 2025. The estimated total project cost is $932,525, of which the city portion would be $243,157. Resolution 2020R-7 is an application for Vermilion Road reconstruction phase 4A. Project limits are from the southern corporation limit to 1,890 feet north. If this project is selected for funding, the city is requesting funds for state fiscal year 2024. The estimated total project cost is $1,191,682, of which the city portion would be $310,237. And that concludes my report.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or comments for Mr. Howard tonight? Thank you. We'll now go to our law director's report. Mr. Stumphauser.
Thank you, Mr. Council President. I think you're all aware that the state audit came out and had a finding for a recovery in the city of Vermilion. That's a matter that was addressed last year. I believe I thought it was resolved. However, I'm going to give you a background of the matter, how it was addressed, and what I intend to do now. I hope to be able to coordinate with the state auditor to get this resolved, but I'll keep you advised. I'll send you a communication that's a privileged communication. That completes my report.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or comments? All right, thank you, Mr. Stumphauser. We do not have response to the audience. Is there anybody who would wish to address council? Homer, are you out there?
Council President?
Here's Homer. Homer Taft, 3972 Edgewater. I might address this more at some other meeting, but because it's come up and because, as many of you know, I've been attending pool subcommittee and parks meetings. I did want to express some concern about opening the pool this year at this point. Plainly, COVID is going to be with us during the summer. Plainly, the pool costs something like $52,000 or more to operate, and no fees have even been set, much less accepted yet for the year. There's going to be limited use, and it's a probably dangerous place to be with the nature of how COVID is spread, and the activity that tends to be more grouped there. So I would hope the council would consider saving the $30,000 toward a better solution to a better pool someday. Might be more than 30,000. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Taft. Thank you. Anybody? Mayor Porthover, go ahead.
This is not in response to Mr. Taft, but did we skip the finance director?
We did.
We did.
We didn't. I did. That's my
Okay.
I
I thought maybe my audio went down or something.
I apologize. So I'll tell you what, we'll go back to item number 10, to the finance director's report, which yes is important, and Ms. Hendricks.
Thank you, Council President. I thought this was maybe like one of those times where your mother tells you if you can't say anything good, don't say anything at all. That maybe my report was just getting edited, but here we go. We do have revised appropriations on the agenda this evening. And other than some minor adjustments between line items within departments, there is one addition of both revenue and expenditures in the Fund 509 water meter project. As a result of the bond sale, premium was generated in the amount of $106,800. And that also corresponds with the costs of issuance. So that will leave us, the good news about that is it will leave us the full $2.2 million available for the project. As a financial update, Mayor Forthover gave an excellent lead into that, in that we really are anticipating that we are going to have some significant impact on our revenues, and it will be very difficult in this current year to anticipate what those are going to be with any great degree of accuracy till it's almost too late to make adjustments. So we're trying to tweak things along the way, which is really a mode that we have been in for a couple of years, is trying to just make the best business decision we can at any juncture. So we'll continue with that. The only significant unanticipated claim or unbudgeted expense we've had thus far related to COVID-19 is roughly $10,000 in unemployment claims. And those are for folks who are on our payroll part-time, primarily in the recreation department and the fire department, who have been laid off from their primary employers. And as a reimbursing employer, which the city and other public entities are, rather than paying a premium based on our payroll, we only pay when there's a claim. But when we pay the claim, we're paying that full amount with not a lot of appeal rights for that. So right now we're at about $10,000, and we'll have to just see how quickly people get back to work and at what levels that happens. We do have also, as the mayor indicated, the good news is that we had brought in at the end of December of 2019, $2.2 million in carryover in the general fund, which will be the fund that takes the most significant reduction because of income taxes and other various fees. So that will help us in cash flow situations as the year progresses. As the appropriations were originally adopted for 2020, we were scheduled to have a surplus of a little over $475,000 at the end of the year. Our estimated revenue losses for, and this is going to be a 2-year situation with revenue losses, the way I'm looking at this, and in conversations that are happening every couple of weeks with finance directors all over the state that are coordinated by the Municipal League. This is the concurrence of the finance officers in those meetings. The income taxes for Vermilion right now, I have estimated about 20%. So in 2019, that would be mostly the second half of the year of our payments. So just under $450,000 there. And other various types of revenue, things like interest income, various fees we collect. Excuse me. I think we're going to be right around $570,000 in revenue losses for the current year. Excuse me. And in 2021, the carryover of those income taxes that are 2020 filings that will take place in 2021, about $527,000 in total losses. And that's a combination of income taxes and other sources of revenue. the extension of the filing deadline for 3 months for 2019 means we really aren't going to have a solid look at what that number is going to be until in the fall. And that's also delayed the payments, the estimated payments for 2020, those first 2 quarters, until that date as well. Because of the fact that so many of our folks work outside of the city of Vermilion, we don't see their earnings as a withholdings revenue that happens throughout the year as if there was an employer in Vermilion. Our 3 largest employers in the city, as I reported on last time, are the school, the city, and Kingston of Vermilion. And those are not employers that are particularly impacted by the COVID-19 economics. So we're not going to be able to have a true sense until those 2020 returns are going to be filed in the spring of 2021 and then settled out and paid to the city from RETA till the summer of 2021. So we're going to have to be very conservative as we approach our budget for 2021, since we do have a full year to be able to make adjustments, where for 2020, we were very much committed and under contract for a good portion of the 2020 year already. Some general fund savings that we anticipate being able to realize through the balance of the year. There's roughly $70,000 in personnel changes we feel that we'll be able to realize in the second half of the year. We've also delayed the parking lot development and the water tower repairs. So just a little over $207,000 in savings. Combine that with the carryover we had originally projected of the 475. If the stars align and we don't have quite as much revenue loss, we should be able to finish the year with a balanced budget for 2020. The other fund that's significantly impacted by COVID-19 are our streets fund. And the reason for that is because we have the income tax, the road tax that funds the streets, that's based on the income tax, as well as the gasoline tax that comes from the state, which with the reduced traffic and fuel sales through 2020, we can only estimate what those may be, but about $480,000 through the course of 2020, based on information coming from Columbus. Our urban paving project is going to start next year, so we will want to keep an eye on that carryover to be able to meet our local contribution for those. And some of the revenue items that are across in other funds, such as our utilities and other services, we may have some delayed collections in those that should eventually be realized. Increased delinquencies possibly in property tax areas and other types of funding that we really can't estimate very closely at this point in time. Those, though, are somewhat different than what we have with the income tax and state revenue losses, where those are not things that are going to catch up when people can pay. That once they're under the bridge, they're gone, unfortunately. So we're trying to just keep an eye on trends. We haven't really been able to see anything yet with the timing of the various payments we're getting. Now, and also most of our capital projects are from funds with restricted uses and are already underway. So that is a part of those budgetary commitments for the current year. Again, we're just going to be watchful and continue in our conservative mode as we move forward, and hopefully resolve sooner rather than later. And that would conclude my report.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there any questions or comments on that? It's very good, and we appreciate it very much. I want to just take this quick opportunity to thank you and the administration for looking ahead, doing all you can to get us the information. Obviously, we are in a situation where we cannot forecast, but we'll obviously keep an eye on things. So we appreciate that very much. Are there any other questions or comments from council? Okay. So I believe we left off at old business. We don't have any old business. Is there any new business? Didn't catch any. All right. Mr. Stumphauser, did you want to read the ordinances?
Certainly, Mr. Council President. This is the third reading of ordinance number 2020-15. An ordinance amending ordinance 2020-5 adopted March 2nd, 2020 to make appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures for the city of Vermilion, Ohio for the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2020 and declaring emergency.
Do we have a motion to adopt ordinance 2020-15 and declaring an emergency?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Gwen?
Gahan,
Yes.
Luca,
Yes.
Brady,
Yes.
Hollenbeck,
Yes.
Holmes,
Yes.
Stark,
Yes.
Aaron.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay, proceed.
Third reading of ordinance number 2020-17. An ordinance authorizing and directing the mayor of the city of Vermilion, Ohio into a contract for management services for the operation and maintenance of city's cemeteries.
We have a motion to adopt ordinance 2020-17 and declaring emergency.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, this contract was sent to us today. Are there any questions or comments?
Yeah, can I just ask, is it the same? Are there any major changes in it? I didn't have a chance to compare. No, it's the same as it was last year.
I'm sorry, my mute was on. I'm sorry, Councilwoman. No, there are no significant changes.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, Gwen?
Hollenbeck,
Yes.
Brady,
Yes.
Luca,
Yes.
Gahan,
Yes.
Holmes,
Yes.
Stark,
Yes.
Aaron.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay, proceed.
Third reading of ordinance number 2020-18. An ordinance authorizing and directing the mayor of the city of Vermilion, Ohio to enter into a contract on behalf of said city with the township of Brown Elm, Lorraine County, Ohio, to provide fire protection for the period of July 1st, 2020 through June 30th, 2021 and declaring an emergency.
We have a motion to adopt ordinance 2020-18 and declaring an emergency.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, Gwen?
Stark,
Yes.
Holmes,
Yes.
Gahan,
Yes.
Luca,
Yes.
Brady,
Yes.
Hollenbeck,
Yes.
Aaron.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Proceed.
First reading of resolution 2020 R-6. A resolution authorizing the mayor to prepare and submit an application to the Erie Regional Planning Commission to participate in the Metropolitan Planning Organization and to execute contracts as required.
Okay, do we have a motion to suspend the rules with respect to resolution 2020 R-6 and declaring an emergency?
So moved.
Second.
Gwen?
Luca,
Yes.
Brady,
Yes.
Holmes,
Yes.
Stark,
Yes.
Gahan,
Yes.
Hollenbeck,
Yes.
Aaron.
Yes.
Motion carried.
And do we have a motion to adopt resolution 2020 R-6 and declaring an emergency?
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? This was addressed. Mr. Howard? Everybody okay? Okay, Glenn?
Hollivax,
Yes.
Brady,
Yes.
Luca,
Yes.
Gahan,
Yes.
Holmes,
Yes.
Stark,
Yes.
Aaron,
Yes.
motion carried.
Thank you. Proceed.
First reading of resolution, excuse me, 2020 R-7, a resolution authorizing the mayor to prepare and submit application to the Erie Regional Planning Commission to participate in the Metropolitan Planning Organization and to execute contracts as required. This is for Vermilion Road reconstruction phase 4.
And do we have a motion to suspend the rules with respect to resolution 2020 R-7 and declaring an emergency?
So moved.
Second,
I didn't get the second. Who was that?
Frank.
Okay, thank you. Hollivax,
Yes.
Brady, Luca,
Yes.
Gahan,
Yes.
Holmes,
Yes.
Stark,
Yes.
Aaron,
Yes.
motion carried.
And do we have a motion to adopt resolution 2020 R-7 and declaring an emergency?
So moved.
I'll second it. Is there any further discussion regarding that? Yes.
I just want to reiterate, as we just heard at our meeting, these are just applications to get funding, state funding for these roads in the future years. This isn't spending this money today. It's not even for sure that we will get this funding, but we have to plan ahead because it saves us a boatload of money if we do get this funding to be able to go ahead and move forward with our repairing our roads are so needed. So I think this is really great that we're moving forward to try to reach out for some state money for our roads.
I agree. Thank you. Any further questions or comments? Okay. Gwen?
Brady,
Yes.
Luca,
Yes.
Gahan,
Yes.
Holmes,
Yes.
Stark,
Yes.
Hollivax,
Yes.
Aaron,
Yes.
motion carried.
Okay, so next, all of our committees will be meeting at 6:00 p.m. next Monday, May 11th on Zoom, as we are now. And then we will have a regular city council meeting just after a public hearing that will be 2 weeks from today, May 18th, 6:00 p.m. After that, we will not have any more meetings for May. So I thank everybody for joining. Again, Glenn, thank you for helping set this up. And our IT department also, fantastic. We appreciate it very much. So with that, everybody have a very good evening. We'll see you next Monday night.
You as well.
Everybody leave the
Take care.
meeting. We're still on live.
Have a good Cinco de Mayo tomorrow.
You too.
Thank you.